Hi, I'm Martin, and I'm 18 years old. I used to have a really happy family until one day a disaster struck and turned everything upside down in the blink of an eye. I was 14 at the time when my family got into a car accident. My dad was driving, and suddenly a dog ran out onto the road. He lost control of the car and we went speeding toward the sidewalk. It was one of those crazy moments, a matter of life and death. My mom grabbed the steering wheel and turned it so that it would be her side that went crashing into the pole. She saved my dad's life, and in doing so, lost hers. It was one of the worst moments of my entire life. But my dad didn't escape death in the end. We got taken to the hospital for a checkup after the accident, and although I was fine, my dad wasn't. He had no injuries, but they discovered he had a malignant tumor in his stomach, and it had already spread all over his body. He didn't have much time left. During the last 2 months of his life, he refused radiation and became fixated on another plan. He went to the bank and signed up for a safety deposit box service with a contract that said when I was 18 years old, the box would be allowed to be opened, and that the contents of it would go to the person who raised me until then. Watching him deteriorate was devastating, and I couldn't believe I was about to become an orphan. After he passed away, many people came to our family home claiming to be aunts and uncles that I'd never met before. They were all eager to take care of me, but I didn't trust them one bit. But then my Uncle Trevor came along. He was my dad's younger brother. Both him and my dad had been adopted by my grandparents, but from two different orphanages. From old photos, I knew that my uncle used to be super close to my parents, but after he moved to another city and got married, they lost touch. He told me that before my dad had died, he had called him to ask him to take care of me until I turned 18. So here my uncle was, offering me the chance to go and live with his family. And who was I to doubt him? I mean, my dad trusted him, right? I felt so relieved suddenly and gave him a huge hug. Finally, there was someone I could count on. I moved in with his family, and he was so kind and loving toward me. His daughter Jackie was also really sweet, but his wife wasn't. She only treated me well when my uncle and Jackie were around, but otherwise, she was so rude to me. And one time she said that if it weren't for the safety deposit box, she would have never allowed my uncle to adopt me. After this, I was so sad and even thought about running away. But Jackie comforted me and encouraged me to stay. If it weren't for her, I'd have lost my mind. She was so cute and always knew how to make me laugh. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I gradually fell for Jackie. I knew she felt the same way about me, as I'd often catch her looking at me during meal times and she'd blush when I saw her. But I knew that if either of us said anything about our feelings, it could really mess up our family life. I decided to just care for her in secret. And then when I left their home when I was 18, I'd confess everything to Jackie about how much I liked her. Maybe then we could be together. The next few years were bittersweet. I loved every moment I spent with Jackie, but the moments with her mom were hell. She'd constantly remind me about the safety deposit box, and I didn't think I could handle it. She was so greedy for that money. Finally, I turned 18, and I can leave the family and confess my feelings to Jackie. I went to the bank with my uncle and his wife and Jackie to complete the procedure. The banker led us to my dad's box and opened it, and my uncle's wife immediately grabbed the envelope inside. I always thought that there was lots of money inside the box, like thousands or even millions of dollars to thank the one who raised me over the years. I didn't care about it much, but this woman, she was so excited that she was actually shaking as she ripped it open in front of us. But after reading it, she was so shocked that she dropped the piece of paper. It was a letter from my dad, and I couldn't believe what it said. My dad wrote that in the past, both him and my uncle had been in love with my mom, but my mom had chosen my uncle. My dad loved my mom so much, though, and waited for her. When she broke up with my uncle, he went straight to her and asked her to marry him. They got married right away, and then my mom quickly fell pregnant. But my dad knew the baby had to be my uncle's child because my dad had mumps as a kid, and it had led to complications, making him infertile. He kept this a secret, though, because he didn't want my mom to know he knew, or he'd risk losing her. As for my uncle, he'd already left for another city and gotten married, and he had no clue I was his child. This whole time, my dad acted like he didn't know. But now I'm 18, and my dad wanted me and my uncle to know the truth. I froze in shock. This couldn't be happening! My uncle's wife suddenly rushed to grab my collar and screamed at me for being a freak that had ruined her family's happiness. My uncle pulled her away outside of the bank, and Jackie just stood there crying. It was such a crazy, shocking day for me. Suddenly, I've discovered that my uncle is actually my dad, and that I'm in love with my half-sister. All these years, she'd been my motivation to get through life. But now what? I don't know how to handle all these chaotic emotions going on inside me.
Ugh, look at them flirting. What an eyesore. But don't get it wrong. Trust me, this is no happy family. That woman there isn't my mom. She's Rochelle, our housemaid. I repeat, housemaid. But it looks like she has her sights set on becoming my stepmom. Ugh. We only hired her because after my mom passed away, Dad and I struggled to deal with our grief, and our clumsiness as well, so tidying the house didn't take priority. I suppose Rochelle was an okay maid. Can't deny that she's a good cleaner, and her cooking is tasty. However, recently, I've noticed that she always cooks Dad's favorite meals. Also, they laugh and flirt and constantly give each other these gooey-eyed looks. Yuck! Today, she even took out her handkerchief and attentively wiped my dad's sweaty forehead. Who does she think she is? She definitely wanted to hypnotize Dad. If she thought she'd have a slot in this house, she was totally wrong. I needed to do something about this. I had to talk to Dad right away. Dad, Mom didn't pass away that long ago, but it looks like you've already lined up her replacement. Didn't you hurt Mom enough by reconnecting with your ex right before she died?
What do you mean replacement? Brittany, you're being childish and unreasonable.
I don't know, and I don't care. But I want Rochelle to get out of our house immediately. She's for sure trying to get something out of you.
Okay, fine, if you insist. But make sure you find a new housemaid to replace her.
Ugh. So it turns out that finding a new maid who's actually good is nearly impossible. Dozens of people came to try out, but none of them were as considerate as Rochelle. Okay, after all, we still needed a maid, so I reluctantly let Rochelle stay until I found someone new. This didn't mean I was going to let my annoyance for her slide. I decided that while I was stuck in the same house as her, I may as well play some tricks on her to let out my anger. When she decided to cook, again, the divine chicken soup that my dad loved so much, I kindly added a little salt to make it more savory. But somehow, my dad still praised her delicious food. He must just be flattering her, right? So I tried it for myself. What? How could she do that? It tasted amazing. Ugh. Another time, I copied this trick I saw on TikTok by sticking layers of food wrap on Rochelle's door, then acting like there was an emergency. Quick! The oven is making weird noises. I think something's burning. Rochelle quickly ran out of the room and I couldn't help but laugh my head off. Her face was really funny. She then gave me this bewildered look and smiled helplessly. Ugh, why did this woman never get mad? Okay then, let's step it up a notch. I decided to play the ultimate trick. Knowing that Rochelle was scared to death of cockroaches, I cut a cockroach shape out of paper and put it behind the fabric of her nightlight. That night, I was dozing off when I heard a screechy scream. Ah! Coming from Rochelle's room. Aha! Success! But she was so terrified that she fainted. Oops! Do you know what the most annoying thing is? Even after all the trouble I've caused her, Rochelle was still super sweet to me. She was always offering me cookies and asking me about my day and stuff. I felt like she was trying to play the role of a mother, and I didn't like that at all. She couldn't fool me. I knew she only put up with me to please my dad. Thanks to Rochelle, I could never be at ease, even in my own home. But recently, a very special person has come into my life and lit up my mood. It was totally by chance. That day, it had rained like crazy, so there were puddles everywhere. I was on my way home from the grocery store when a car drove whizzing by. I thought I was going to get a free bath, but then suddenly, an arm pulled me back and shielded me with his body. Just like in a romantic movie, standing there was a boy, soaking wet, asking if I was okay. Aww, he had totally swept me off my feet. We walked together for a while, and he told me his name's Chris, and he lives in the next neighborhood. That's it! I needed to find a way to impress Chris and also thank him for helping me. So, after some careful thinking, I decided to bake him a cake. I'd seen Rochelle bake before. It looked easy peasy. So I baked one and gave some to my best friend Sue to try. But she spat it out and said, "Ew, gross." I sadly sat in the kitchen, staring at my pathetic cake, and wondered where I'd done wrong. That's when Rochelle stepped into the room. But to my surprise, instead of laughing at me, she patted me on the shoulder.
Come here. I'll teach you how to cook.
Rochelle was a good cook, so I'd be stupid not to learn from her. This doesn't mean I like her, though. I just want to win my crush's heart. So after that, each day after school, Rochelle gave me a cooking lesson. Okay, so maybe she wasn't as bad as I first thought. We tried out different recipes together and came up with our own perfect formula. And finally, I could bake a lovely heart-shaped chocolate cake by myself to confess my love to Chris. And you know what? He said yes. I was so deeply in love with Chris that I totally forgot about my conflict with Rochelle. Chris often came over to my place. My dad and Rochelle loved him. So now, besides my dad's favorite food, Rochelle also makes Chris's favorites too. She's incredible. She could remember everything Chris loves and hates, even the trivia, like he's allergic to peanuts. We were just like a family, and I have to admit, it felt kinda good. And then, out of literally nowhere, the shock of my life happened. My dad passed away from cancer. I didn't even know he was ill. As you might guess, I totally broke down and didn't want to do anything after that. My mom and dad had both left me, just within a single year. But at least I still had Rochelle and Chris beside me. Rochelle took care of me like I was her actual daughter. I was going through such a tough time in life, but having them around made me feel like I wasn't completely alone. The grief had to fade away eventually, and it's gonna be okay from now on, I thought. Until one day, I was baking cupcakes when my dad's lawyer appeared and showed me the will. Turns out, my dad had left the house to me, but only on the condition that I had a guardian. Some woman named Laura. Huh? That's odd. I don't know anyone named Laura. But wait, I think I've heard this name from someone. Oh, my mom. When she was in her last days, Mom once told me that my dad had been talking to his ex again. And her name was Laura. Could it be her? Did he seriously make his ex my guardian? Unbelievable! I had to get to the bottom of this. But how could I find this mystery Laura? I had no family. Well, besides my Uncle Colin, who was living in France. So I contacted him and told him everything. He flew back at once, and although I hadn't seen him in years, I couldn't hold back my emotions and ended up sobbing on his shoulder. And then he told me the horrible truth. Laura is none other than the woman who had just walked through the door. It was Rochelle, the woman who had been living in my house. I couldn't believe my ears. What on earth is going on? So Rochelle moving in was no coincidence? My dad sneakily snuck her in as a maid so they could be together? My pain and disappointment were overwhelming, but I had to calm down so I could think rationally. I knew I needed to be smart and outplay Rochelle at her own game. Since then, I started watching Rochelle and noticed something strange. Rochelle and Chris were a bit too close and intimate. I often saw them whispering to each other when they thought I wasn't looking. What did this mean? Could it be that Rochelle was trying to coax my boyfriend into one of her dark schemes? Or, worse still, was the guy I loved cheating on me with an older woman? My suspicions deepened. When a few days later, Chris told me he was sick, so I had to take the school bus for a couple of days. And Rochelle also asked me for a few days off. Could it just be coincidence? I didn't think so. So I decided to be a detective for once. Right after Rochelle left, I started following her. And with no surprise, she went to my boyfriend's house.
Hi, Mom.
Excuse me? Mom? She's his mom? So that means She not only flirted with my father, but also planted her son to distract me to take over my family's property? I trusted them. How could they be so cruel? Suddenly, I remembered a detail that I didn't notice until now. After eating the food she'd cooked, for some reason, my father became weaker and weaker and eventually passed away. Did she poison him? If that's the case, then she really is a poisonous snake in human disguise. I immediately broke up with Chris and fired Rochelle, then went home and told Uncle Colin everything. At least I had him on my side.
Now what we need to do is refute her custody of the property. I'll take care of everything, and you just have to do what I say.
Then, Uncle Colin helped me prepare a lawsuit against Rochelle and her son for fraud. Those two will pay the price for what they did to my father and me. Oh, but the thing is, now Rochelle didn't live here. It felt so empty. I was so angry with her, but I also found myself missing her too. I loved and trusted her. And Chris too. And feelings like that don't just vanish overnight, but when I was still thinking about it, there was the lawyer. Again! And he was accompanied by Uncle Colin. What's happening now?
Miss Brittany Jensen hereby transfers the entire estate of 25 Oakwell House to Mr. Colin Jensen, as signed by both parties.
Huh? Signed? When did I sign that? I snatched the paper and shouted, "Scam! I never saw this paper! Uncle, what is this? Please say something."
I don't know. Just follow the legal documents.
No, 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 no! So Uncle Colin was just pretending to care, when really he just wanted to trick me into signing over my house? Oh God. Thinking about it, it must have been that day. The day where he gave me a bunch of papers to sign, claiming that they were about me suing Rochelle and Chris. OMG, the lying con! At the time, I'd been so upset that I only skimmed the first page without looking at the following ones. I was too careless.
From tomorrow, Miss Brittany Jensen will have to return all assets to Mr. Colin Jensen. You have 24 hours to prepare.
I tried shouting at my uncle, and then I tried reasoning with him, but he didn't care. He just smirked at me and told me that he was just taking what was rightfully his. Ugh, what a vile man. So now, I have nothing left. I was kicked out of my own house and deceived by my own uncle. I don't know why I accidentally passed Chris's house just as he opened the door to take a delivery, and our eyes met. I turned and started to run away, but Chris caught up with me and grabbed my hand. Even after the awful way I treated them both, Rochelle and Chris still invited me inside and made me dinner. I ashamedly told them what happened. Then Rochelle told me everything. It turns out that my father found out that he had cancer a while ago, but he didn't tell me because he saw how upset I was after losing Mom, and he was afraid I would worry too much. Rochelle saw his health deteriorating and figured out what was wrong, so she volunteered to take care of him because she still cared for him. But as a friend, nothing more. As for the will, my dad understood Uncle Colin all too well and didn't trust him, so he gave custody to Rochelle. But unexpectedly, in the end, I still stupidly fell into his trap.
As for Chris, I really didn't know you two knew each other until you brought him home. But at that time, I didn't want to confess I was his mother and affect your relationship. I'm sorry, Brittany.
Britt, please stay here with me and Mom. We'll get through this tough time together, okay?
That's right, darling. No matter what, we'll never abandon you.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood you both.
It's okay. Everything will be fine from now on. You'll never have to do this alone.
Yeah, every dog has its day. This is totally not wrong. My life is nothing like my previous wealthy one, but I have something that my conniving, vulturous uncle doesn't have, and that's people who love and care about me. What my uncle did was wrong, and Rochelle and Chris are helping me to make a legal case against him. As for now, well, I still haven't given up on my passion for cooking, and still practice with my master every day. And you know what? I just won first prize at the city cooking competition. Right, I better go, as I have a big treat planned for I stand here before you, looking back fondly on the 4 years of legacy we've all made together. Do you see her? The girl in the graduation gown giving that awesome speech? Well, that was me, Taylor Flores. Take a look at my parents. They looked so proud of me. Oh, but I will never forget this face. This is Jonas, my arch enemy. We were the top 2 students in our school and had been competing against each other since forever. But too bad, Jonas. You lost the final battle because I was the one asked to give the graduation speech, not you. It's safe to say that I had it all figured out after high school. First, I would move to New York to attend the most prestigious college in the city, majoring in English, of course. Then, when I graduated from college, I'd write my first novel, then publish it to acclamation and glory. Now, that's what I call a perfect plan. Just wait for it. You will see my face on thousands of book covers. Taylor Flores' time has come.
I want those pages by the end of Friday, else be prepared for a pay cut this month.
Ugh! I hate deadlines! As you can see, my life didn't exactly turn out as I planned. What went wrong, you ask? Well, after I graduated from college, I pursued my writing dream. But every agent and publisher I sent my novel to rejected it. I kept pushing myself to write more, but then I ended up having writer's block. I couldn't create stories anymore, so I decided to switch to writing for newspapers. I used to think that if I had to write for a newspaper, then it'd at least be a famous one. But life is not a fairy tale. On the contrary, it's actually cruel and unfair. Well, at least it was to me, because my preferred newspaper rejected me a bunch of times. So now I ended up here, working for this unknown news website with an all-time grumpy manager. Okay, so back to what was happening at the office. Suddenly, my phone buzzed through an email. Oh no, it's an invitation to my high school reunion. No way I could go back to my hometown and see everyone. They'd all see what a loser I'd become and I'd be the joke of the party. All the worst case scenarios were running through my mind until a call from Amelia came. It's my bestie from high school. She asked me if I was going, and I told her never in a million years. If you don't go, then everybody will assume that you failed in life and you're too ashamed to go. So the best thing you can do is to attend and keep your head up high. Man, Amelia really had a point and was great at persuading other people. No wonder she's now a lawyer. Ugh. So here I was, in front of the venue, feeling so nervous that I thought I may throw up. But it's now or never, right? I just needed to put my game face on. I entered the room to a load of unfamiliar faces. Huh? Was I in the wrong place? I was about to leave when I suddenly bumped into somebody and fell on the floor. Ouch! I looked up. It was a chubby lady who was holding her baby in one arm and gripping a toddler's hand with the other. I instantly apologized. I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't hurt the kids.
Oh, it's fine. You're lucky my belly was big enough to block you.
She then paused and took a closer look at me.
Is that you, Taylor? You look great! Let's get inside. The party just started.
Wait, she knew me. But who was she? I guess she did look familiar. Maybe I should wait for Amelia and ask her, as she had kept in touch with most of our classmates. I looked around, trying to find someone familiar to have a chat with, but my gosh, why was it so hard? But then I saw a woman who had beautiful, long blonde hair, and I instantly knew who it was. Jessica, the hottest and most popular girl in high school, and the captain of the cheerleader team. I walked over to her, and we began to catch up. We chatted a lot, and she was so funny. I don't remember her being so hilarious. My God, you're so funny, Jess. Hey, Jessica! I heard Amelia shout. I looked over at her, and she was walking towards someone else. It was the chubby lady from earlier. So, she's Jessica? Oh my, she definitely changed a lot. But if that was Jessica, then who was this? Thank God I didn't say her name earlier. I excused myself from this mystery person, then whispered to Amelia, asking who the lady was I was talking to. Beats me. Why don't we ask her directly? She then did exactly just that. The lady gave us a playful smile, saying, "Try guessing. Are you Ashley? Nope. Natasha? Wrong. Tiffany? Negative. Wait, are you related to Jack Miller? You kinda look like him." "Almost correct." Oh my, she wasn't related to Jack Miller, 'cause she is Jack Miller. Well, now she's Jill Miller. Turns out she never felt comfortable being a boy, so after high school, she underwent transgender surgery. Wow, that's incredible. I kind of felt overwhelmed, so I went to the bathroom to freshen up. On my way out, I saw a familiar face. It was Luke, the most handsome guy in high school. He was picking up trash and putting it in the garbage can. Aw, what a nice guy. We talked for a bit and... Oh, turns out he works here as the janitor. He was the one who recommended organizing the reunion here, and he was cleaning up as much as possible so later it wouldn't take him so much time. For real? Who would have expected that? I went back to the party and saw Amelia talking to a guy. Oh, who is this handsome dude? Amelia beckoned me over and introduced him to me. I couldn't believe my ears. It was Jonas, my arch enemy. The chubby dwarf Jonas with a face full of pimples now resembled an Abercrombie and Fitch model. Jonas just told me that he's been promoted to a higher position in his company. Ugh, seemed like he still kept his bragging habit. Some things never changed. Suddenly, Jonas asked me,
"And what about you, Taylor? How has it been going for you lately?"
Oh, snap! I couldn't tell him that I was working for this awful news website. That would be so humiliating. So, thinking fast, I blurted out that I was a managing editor for this huge newspaper in New York. Jonas and Amelia looked at me in shock. In your face, Jonas. If I had a mic, I would definitely drop it. I asked Jonas what position he was promoted to, and he replied,
"Oh, I got Chief Technical Officer."
Huh, nice try, but it was no match for my amazing job. I won that battle, loser. Well, in general, the reunion went pretty well, even though I had to lie about myself, but whatever. It's not like I was gonna see Jonas again, right? Wrong. A week later, I received a Facebook friend request from him. First, I ignored it, but then a few days later, he texted me via Messenger, asking why I didn't accept him on Facebook. Ugh, that was so annoying. Fine, but first I had to readjust my page. I needed to hide photos, statuses, and tags that were related to my company. Done. Then Jonas began to text me.
"It was nice seeing you the other day. Would you like dinner sometime?"
I'm sorry, what? Was he asking me out on a date? Or was this a prank? 'Cause I live in New York. I told him that, and oh my God, he lives in New York too. Ugh, great. But the thing is, I told him last time that I'm an editing manager, and that's a busy job. So during our date, I asked Amelia to pretend to be my secretary and call me a bunch of times during dinner. However, before we could play our act, Jonas was the one who received a dozen calls and then had to leave early because of an incident at his company. After that, he texted me quite a lot, but still feeling bitter from being ditched at dinner the other day, I only replied to him after 30 minutes. Every time. But on days when he didn't text me, I found myself staring at my phone, longing to hear from him. Jesus. I was falling for him? Jonas? Why Jonas? I couldn't understand myself anymore and was unable to stop my feelings. So when he told me he liked me, I said I liked him too. And soon we became a couple. It was great at first, but then Jonas insisted that he drive me to work and pick me up. Oh no. I refused, of course, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. Ugh. So when Jonas dropped me at the fake office, I had to run. No, I had to sprint 5 blocks to my real office to make it on time. And then in the evening, I had to leave 30 minutes earlier to run back to the other office and wait for him to pick me up. The first 3 times, I could handle it. But Jonas wanted to drive me to work every day. That's enough. I needed a break from all this running. Eventually, I came up with an excuse. I bought a bike and told him that I wanted to ride to work, as it would be good for my health. Phew. I didn't have time to run 5 blocks each day anymore because I had an important interview to prepare for. Oh yeah, I was applying to my dream newspaper. Again, if I did get in, I don't need to lie to Jonas anymore. And luckily, my interview went pretty well. I had a smile on my face as I walked over to the elevator. First it was just me, and then a bunch of employees went in. The elevator was about to close when suddenly, from the outside, someone put his hand between the doors. "Please wait!" And that's when I saw a familiar face. Jonas! Our eyes met, and we both looked shocked. Then one of the employees said to him, "Hey boss, I already finished the report, and will send it to you this evening." What? Why did the guy say that to him? When the elevator reached the ground floor, I quickly ran out of it. Jonas ran after me, held my hand, and said, "Wait, let me explain." What is there to explain? We both lied to each other. Jonas held me in his arms and tried to keep me calm. Then he began telling me everything. Oh my God. Turns out he's the actual editing manager of this newspaper. Ugh! Well, that explains a lot. I should have known he didn't work in technology, as I once asked him to repair my laptop, and he ended up locking himself out of it.
Hearing you say you had my job shocked me. I didn't want to embarrass you, so I made up another position.
So he knew right from the beginning I was lying. Then why did you insist on driving me to work, when you already knew I didn't work there?
I was just messing with you. Besides, I was kind of curious to see how long you could keep the lie up for. I'm sorry. But the truth is, I like you. I have liked you since high school. Back then, I was always competing with you because I wanted you to notice me.
I thought I was about to throw a tantrum, but thinking back, it was all my fault. If I hadn't lied in the first place, then Jonas wouldn't have had to lie about himself. Right at that moment, I received an email from Human Resources. Oh God, I got in! They were so impressed by me that they had to email me right away. I was so happy that I hugged Jonas as he said,
"Congratulations, newbie. Now, let's get to work. Your first task is to go out on dinner with me."
Yeah, so now Jonas and I work at the same place, and he's my boss. I used to hate losing to him, but now that he's my boyfriend, I feel fine. Actually, I'm really proud of him.
Ugh, we couldn't make a tiny single profit this month. Again? Business is so slow these days. Oh no, it's already past 5? Gotta go pick up Lucy. I rushed over to Elena's house. She's my best friend. She often helps take care of my daughter Lucy so I can work extra hours. No matter how tough things were going for me, at least I still have Lucy. Even on the worst days, one look at her angelic smile, and I realize things aren't so bad after all. Why the long face? Has this month been as hard as last month? I nodded, sadly, and entered the house. It's been even worse. I just want to earn enough money to provide a nice life for Lucy, but I'm barely breaking even. I looked over at Lucy, who was playing with her dollies on the living room floor. I plopped down on the sofa while Elena brought me a cup of tea. Things will get better. I just know it. How about I read your tarot cards to see if things will improve for you? Yeah, right. Let's just assume those fortune-telling things are right. I'm not into the spiritual stuff, but Elena swears by it. I suppose it can't hurt to hear what she has to say, right? She made me shuffle the cards, then laid some out on the coffee table in front of me. Oh, that's interesting. Hey, Nora, seems like your life's going to change sooner than you think. Destiny is telling me that it'll be tomorrow after work at the bakery close to your shop. It looks like you'll meet a man, a rich one. I stared down at the cards. How on earth was she getting all this information from them? Yeah, whatever. Thanks for looking after Lucy, but I better take her home and make her dinner. Pfft, who would believe those fortune-telling tricks? But, come to think of it, I'm also desperate. With all the lockdowns and Brexit, my little candle shop in the south of England wasn't going so well of late. No amount of 2-for-1 offers or sales events were helping. Ugh, I'm down to single digits on the money my parents lent me to open up the shop. Then there's Lucy to think of. In her 3 years of life, she has already been through so much, including her father abandoning us both. I want to provide an amazing life for her, not cause us both to end up homeless. Ugh. I may as well do as Elena said. I mean, it's not like I had anything to lose. So the next day, I closed up the shop early, then with Lucy in tow, walked toward the bakery. There didn't seem to be anyone about. Looks like Elena was oh so wrong. Oh, miss, I'm so sorry. I brushed bits of pastry off me and glared at this man. Okay, so it looked like he's only a few years older than me, but why is he wearing such old-fashioned clothes? And what's with his awful hairstyle? This has to be the man Elena was talking about, right? But he's so not my type. But I suppose if dating him changes everything, then... Oh, cute kid. He pointed at Lucy, who was cuddling her favorite doll. Yeah, this is my daughter Lucy. Sometimes I swear she loves that doll more than me. She won't let it out of her sight. He chuckled, then nervously scratched his head and said, You're a good mother, I can tell. Are you going this way? He pointed up the street. I nodded, then started walking alongside him. Okay, so he's called Dylan. He's an engineer and he's just moved here for work. We exchanged numbers and you know what? We've been texting quite a lot. Soon we started hanging out and he's not so bad, albeit a little on the boring side. Lucy seems to adore him, though. He pulls silly faces to make her laugh and buys her sweets. He even took us both to the zoo. OMG, it was so good. And Lucy loved seeing the penguins. So when he told me he liked me and asked me out on a date, I said yes. Okay, so he's not my usual type, but he's rich, caring, and good with Lucy. Besides, it's all too much to be a coincidence, right? Elena's tarot reading must have come true, and he's the guy who's going to change my luck. Hey, all the romantic dates out to the restaurants and places were kind of fun. And even better, business was improving. This was great and all, but dating Dylan was getting kind of tiring. I like the guy. He's sweet and kind, but I don't have feelings for him. One time after a delicious meal, he walked me home. Then, on my doorstep, he gushed out about how much he liked me, then leaned in for a kiss. Panicked, I darted out of the way, causing him to trip over and almost fall into a bush. Another time, he took my hand when we were walking through the park. I then just stood there while he gave me this soppy look and said, Nora, I really like you, and I know you like me too because you're not letting go of my hand. It made me feel so awkward, so I just pretended I had something in my eye, then changed the subject. Good luck charm or not, I couldn't carry on like this anymore. So when Dylan surprised me at my shop with a bouquet of flowers which caused a bunch of wasps to swarm around me, I screamed at him, Please? I'm trying to work. Will you just leave me alone? Dylan looked hurt. Then he left. I felt really bad about it, but I just felt so suffocated by him. After that, Dylan and I stopped seeing each other, but as expected, my business started to go downhill again. Ugh, why? Why does it have to be him that makes everything work? But if it's really only Dylan who can help me make money, then maybe, then I'd continue dating him until the end of this winter. I did need money to provide for Lucy. As a peace offering, I decided to buy Dylan his favorite pastry from the bakery and surprise him with it. But as I was walking out of the bakery, I walked straight into someone. Dylan? Turns out he was also planning on surprising me, and he was just getting a pastry for Dutch courage. I invited him into my shop, and he handed me this gross gemstone bracelet. But I forced a smile, told him it was beautiful, and hugged him. Looks like we're back on. That night, I went home and placed the bracelet on the side. But then Lucy got a hold of it, and I noticed one of the gemstones on it was missing. So terrified she'd swallowed it, I spent all evening in A&E. Turns out it was a false alarm. Nice gift, Dylan. For the sake of my business, I may have had to date Dylan, but that didn't mean I couldn't see other guys too. So I joined this dating app and started talking to this cute guy called Austin. We gelled so well. So when he asked me out, I said yes. It was a harmless meetup. This wasn't cheating, right? Austin showed up and, I didn't want to compare, but Dylan was like a desert, while Austin was definitely the green oasis. But right when Austin and I stepped out of the cafe, we ran into Dylan on the sidewalk with another girl. So turns out we both wanted to find someone new? If so, maybe there was no need to wait until winter. So Dylan insisted on coming round, and naturally he wanted to know who Austin was. I mentioned how we were both seeing other people, so it was fine. But turns out the girl I saw with him was just a friend. It was time I was honest with him. So I told him how he was a good luck charm for my business, and that's why I continued to date him. He clutched his chest and gave me this heartbroken look. Then he just nodded and left. I felt really bad about it, but at least it was over now, right? I went back to raising Lucy the best I could, trying to salvage my failing business and dating Austin, but in the end, it didn't work out with him. The weird thing is, I found myself thinking about Dylan all the time. Just the cheesy things he said and his quirky ways. I couldn't help but think that if he was here now, life would be so much better. OMG, the realization hit me. I actually have feelings for Dylan. I tried texting and calling him, but he didn't answer. I suppose I couldn't blame him. So I went round to Elena's and confided in her. That's when she took my hands in hers and told me the shocking truth. Dylan is actually my cousin. He really has just moved to this town, and he is an engineer. But I made the fortune thing up. Actually, Dylan once saw you come over to pick up Lucy and liked you. So I decided to do some matchmaking. What? So all this time, it had all been a lie? My business didn't improve because of Dylan. It had just been a fluke? I was kind of mad with Elena, but I asked her for a favor. I'm so nervous. I got Elena to set this meeting up with Dylan. He thinks he's meeting her, not me. Oh, there he is. Oh, it's you. Dylan, I know I was horrible to you, and I'm sorry. Elena told me everything, and I don't care if my business could be better or worse, even though we both tricked each other. I know that I like you, and I just want you by my side. He gave me this questioning look. Then, seeing that I was being serious, he hugged me. So what now? Well, Dylan and I are back together. He's so great with Lucy, and guess what? My business is magically doing amazing again. Turns out it has nothing to do with magic or good luck charms or anything to do with Dylan, who not only recommended my little candle shop to all of his friends and clients, but also started up an awesome online marketing campaign for me. Sometimes happiness is right under our noses, but we still try to find it somewhere else. So my advice to you is to learn how to be happy with the things you already have, as, trust me, it's only when you lose them that you realize how amazing they were in the first place. Hey, what's with the long face? Oh, hey, it's nothing, just a bad day. You know you can tell me everything, right? I'm your best friend, so I know when something is up with you. Spit it out. Okay, you're right, as always. I think you should hang on to something, because this is shocking news. Oh my god, who is that? He looks so gorgeous. Sue, are you even listening? Huh? What did you just say? I turned to him, but he mumbled out typical, then walked away. Jeez, what's his problem? Oh, that was Lucas earlier, my best friend since kindergarten. Don't mind him, he's always like this. But whatever, let's get back to this handsome guy. So it turns out his name is Alex, and he's new here. I knew it, because such a pretty boy like him would never go unnoticed by me. The next morning, I couldn't wait to walk to school with Lucas. I had some amazing news to tell him. It happened to me the night before, during my shift at the diner. Lucas, you won't believe who was in the diner yesterday. Robert Downey Jr.? What? No, it was Alex, the new student. Gosh, Lucas, you've got to help me get his attention. You're on the baseball team together, right? Huh? Do you like that guy? Seriously? Duh. I mean, look at him. He's like Timothée Chalamet's twin brother. So will you help me? Please? Ugh, fine. I did hear him say he likes girls on roller skates. I have an idea. The next time he comes to the diner, serve him on skates. It's a sure way to impress him. Oh, yes, that's a great idea. I hugged Lucas to thank him. So the next time Alex came into the diner, I took out my roller skates and was ready to serve him his spaghetti. I'm kinda a novice on skates, so I slowly slid over to him. So far, so good, until I didn't see that somebody had spilled their milkshake all over the floor. And yes, of course, I slipped. Oh no! I quickly covered my head to avoid the spaghetti plate, but, The plate had fallen on the floor, but where was the spaghetti? I looked around. Oh, snap! I found it! It landed on Alex's head! It was so humiliating. But worse still, as hard as I tried, I couldn't get back on my feet. Ugh, stupid skates! I repeatedly apologized to him. At first, Alex looked totally shocked. Then, perhaps because of my pathetic look, He couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing.
Well, at least you dared to slide on them. I, on the other hand, am not a big fan of those.
What? What did he mean by that? Ugh, Lucas! The next day, I went looking for Lucas to confront him. He was easy to find, as he was in his favorite place to browse in town, the sneaker store. Why did you tell me Alex likes roller skates? Because he definitely doesn't.
Maybe I misheard him.
Oh, wait, he likes girls in superhero costumes. That's right. What? That sounds ridiculous. Forget it, I'm not listening to you anymore. Go give your advice to some other poor girl, not me. What's up with Lucas? Why would he give me such bad advice? It's like he wanted me to fail. But why? Oh my goodness. Was he, maybe, into me? Nah, nonsense. Still, I had a feeling about it. So I decided to avoid Lucas as much as possible. I came up with loads of excuses not to hang out with him, such as Mom was driving me to school, and I was skipping lunch because I was on a diet. Ugh, it was so exhausting. I mean, have you ever tried sneakily eating your lunch in class so you don't pass out from hunger? However, this was necessary, as we both needed some space. It's the only way to keep our friendship safe. But then one day, Lucas messaged me.
Can we talk after school? I have something important to tell you.
Oh no. Was he going to confess his feelings? But if he did it, our friendship would be ruined. I couldn't let that happen, so I didn't meet him. Instead, I ran straight home. He called me a bunch of times, but I ignored them all. I ghosted him, to be exact. Jeez, I wasn't proud, but I had to save our friendship from stupid Cupid. But then the next time I saw him, he only gave me a hurt look, then purposely walked off in the other direction. Oh no. Now it was basically like a cold war between us. Ugh. We might not have been hanging out with each other, but I was still keeping an eye on Lucas. I'd been watching him for a couple of days, and it looked like he was having a tough time. He must have figured out my rejection, so now he was miserable. Oh, dear Lucas, I didn't want this to happen, but I can't risk losing our friendship. But then I noticed something. One time, the whole school went on a picnic trip. I watched Lucas from afar and noticed that he was giving dagger looks to a bunch of girls. Hang on. They were surrounding Alex. I even saw him trip another girl up who was going to join the group of girls adoring Alex, and then he made out it was an accident. Another time, I overheard him telling girls from other classes who were standing by the class door trying to get a glimpse of Alex that he pretended to be all cold and quiet because he had hideous teeth. Which, of course, wasn't true, because he had a smile that could light up a room. Looks like it wasn't just me. Lucas didn't want any other girls going near Alex. Did he hate Alex that much? Or he likes Alex? For heaven's sake! Stop thinking such nonsense, Sue! Your head was messing with you. Then one day, my mom heard that Lucas's mom was sick, so she made some chicken soup and told me to bring it over to his mom. I didn't want to go around there. I mean, what if I saw Lucas? Awkward. But who was I to deny a sick lady's soup? When I arrived, I opened the door and let myself in as I usually do. And that's when I heard the conversation between Lucas and his mom. Lucas, you need to forget about Alex. I want to, but I can't, Mom. He's always on my mind. Anyway, the important thing is your health. You need to eat something. Look at you, you're not getting any better. How can I eat after your dad left us? It's like all this time I've been living in a lie. I'm so sorry. Wait a moment. My Sherlock Holmes intuition was kicking in. Now everything makes sense. Why Lucas was sad for a couple of days, why I hadn't seen his dad for a while, and why his mom was suddenly sick. It's because Lucas was gay. His father probably didn't take it so well, so he left, which was really devastating for Lucas's mom. But I'm his best friend. Why didn't he tell me? Man, he hid it really well. But not only that, he also tried to sabotage me when he knew I had a crush on Alex. Well, it turns out we weren't best friends like I thought. But no, I couldn't just ignore this. I needed to talk to Lucas to clear things up. The next day, Lucas had baseball practice, so I went to find him at the field, but he wasn't there. I asked some of his teammates, but nobody knew where he was. Where could he have gone? And that's when I saw Lucas with Alex behind the bleachers. Well. Look at them, all lovey-dovey. They talked for a bit, then each of them walked away in a different direction. I watched them from a distance with my arms folded. That traitor! I was so ready to yell in Lucas's face. And that's when our eyes met. He was startled when he saw me, like he'd just been busted. Well, it was technically the correct word to describe the situation. Sue, what are you doing here? Why do you look so flustered? Come on, I know about your relationship between you and Alex, so you don't need to hide it anymore. How did you know about it? I heard you and your mom talking about it, but I don't understand. How could you do this to me? You knew that I liked Alex. I know, but I couldn't explain. I was so ashamed. You should have talked to me first, but instead you stole Alex from me. Best friends don't do that to each other. Hold on a minute. What did you just say? I stole Alex from you? What do you mean? Ugh, come on. Just stop with all this hiding and lying. I know you two are together. What? Why was he overreacting like this? Was what I just said not true? Well, turns out it wasn't. I was totally wrong. Just one thing was for sure. My detective intuition sucked. And that's when Lucas told me the truth. Lucas and Alex weren't in love. Lucas even hated Alex because he's Lucas's half-brother. Oh my. It's like I got lost in a telenovela or something. When my mom was pregnant with me, my dad got drunk and made a big mistake with a colleague of his. She fell pregnant with Alex, but my dad didn't know about it. Then, a month ago, Alex's mom was diagnosed with a serious illness. She didn't want him to end up alone if she couldn't make it. So she showed up in Dad's life again and messed everything up. Oh my God. So that's why Lucas's mom all of a sudden got so skinny and sick. And Lucas's dad didn't leave them. No, it's because his mom kicked his dad out of the house. I wanted to tell you in the canteen the other day, but you were too starry-eyed over Alex to listen. This made me mad, so I tried everything to prevent you from getting close to him. My family's broken because of him, so I don't want my best friend to fall for someone like that. Oh, it turns out I'm a really bad friend. My best friend had problems at home, and I didn't even know it. No, because I was busy daydreaming about a guy I barely knew. I apologized to Lucas and promised that I would pay more attention to him, and then we hugged. On the plus side, at least none of my crazy theories were true. So it turns out it was all just one big misunderstanding. The Cold War between us ended, and our friendship remains as amazing as ever. I also managed to convince Lucas and Alex to give each other a chance. After all, they're half-brothers, and what happened between their parents wasn't their fault. Besides, Alex's mom is seriously ill, so he needs Lucas more than ever. It's great hanging out with them both and seeing them laughing and joking about. Peace at last. The three of us have become pretty great friends. Oh, do you want to hear something funny? Lucas actually offered to matchmake me with Alex. But it's okay. I refused. Why, you ask? Well, the three of us are such awesome friends now, and I don't want anything to ruin that. Pretty mature of me, right?
Susan, hurry up or we'll be late to see the House of Gucci. Hang on, where was Susan? I looked around to see my friend standing on the spot. Lola, isn't that your car? I looked in the direction Susan was pointing and saw my beloved car resting on the back of a tow truck. Great! Our only mode of transport was being impounded for illegal parking. So much for a movie trip. Well, let's call it a day. My line of thought just ended when, oops, something fell on my shirt. Ah! Those stupid birds! Unbelievable! This was my brand new tee, and now it was covered in bird droppings. Oh yeah, welcome to a normal day in the life of Lola the Jinx. Yes, I've been called that since I was a little kid. All of my relatives, except for my parents, have always been extra wary of me. Then, when I was 12, during a boring family gathering, I overheard a heated conversation between my uncle and my parents. Stop living in denial. That girl's bad luck. Send her off to boarding school. Anywhere, as long as she's away from this family. You're being ridiculous. It's my daughter you're talking about. The fact that you lost your job has nothing to do with her. She's just a kid. That's right. This isn't Lola's fault. You need to stop blaming her for everything because of some silly words. It turned out that the silly words in question were told by a prophetess on the day of my birth. So, my family owned a famous furniture manufacturing business in the area. But unfortunately, on the day I was born, there was a fire in the workshop and they lost everything. On that same day, a prophetess passed by my house and dropped a sentence that made everyone in the family panic.
That newborn is a jinx who will bring misfortune to the entire family.
So that's why relatives ignore me, don't invite me to parties, and whisper about me behind my back. I don't want to believe the prophecy, but with all the bad luck I've had so far, it's hard not to. Have you ever carried an umbrella around with you for 6 days straight, only for it to be sunny? Then the one day you forget to bring it, it pours down? Or have you ever been able to lick a delicious-looking ice cream when you tripped and splashed the whole ice cream on the poor person standing opposite you? Well, not only was I unlucky in my own right, but my ill fortune also affected the people around me. It's no wonder I'm a shy girl who struggles to make friends. Besides my parents, I only have one friend, Susan.
Hey Lola, have you ever thought about breaking your bad luck? There's a very famous fortune teller in town.
Breaking bad luck? Well, that sounds like a good idea. I've had enough of being Lola the Jinx. The next day, following Susan's instructions, I went to a small house on the outskirts of town. As I knocked on the door, I was nervous and excited. I hoped this would finally be the end to my run of bad luck. A woman in veil let me in. I couldn't wait any longer, so I blurted out, "Hi, I'm here since I heard you could help me get rid of my bad luck, right? Please help, whatever it takes." The fortune teller sat still for a moment, then a smile lit up through her veil.
You're Lola, daughter of the Gonzalez family, right?
I was stunned. Whoa, she was good at her job. I mean, I hadn't even introduced myself yet.
Of course, I already knew that you'd come here, but it would be difficult for me to eliminate your misfortune. There's only one person in the world who can undo your jinx. They will bear all the bad luck for you, and even bring you good luck at the same time.
Is that so? But who could that be in this whole wide world? I blurted out. The fortune teller smiled and said that if I wanted further clues, that would cost me a few more bucks. Oh well, I've already come this far, so it's worth spending the rest of my monthly allowance to know who my mystery savior was, right? Then she pulled out this drawstring bag and shook it. She told me to draw an item. Oh, it was a small tile with a single letter on it. A.
Well, well, well. Interesting. A person whose name starts with an A. Fear not, Lola. The universe will signal you to find that very person.
I then went home and couldn't stop searching my mind for people I know with A names. Let's see. The most potential person was Ariel, a classmate of mine who was super lucky in everything. That's right, no one else but her. She was born wealthy and fortunate. She didn't even study and she always got good grades. Actually, she just won the school raffle. Her prize was a year's supply of donuts and a bowling trip. Obviously, she was the complete opposite of me. With her inherent luck, surely a little bit of my jinx seasoning wouldn't make her too miserable, right? But honestly, I'm not fond of Ariel. She's sour, scornful, and a show-off. Still, dear Lola, anything was possible if you wanted to end your bad luck. So I was determined that from tomorrow, I would make her my best friend. Together we would have the perfect balance between bad luck and good fortune. But easier said than done. Being friends with Ariel meant I had to continuously compliment her on everything. Her new shoes, high grades, choice of lipstick color. Ugh. She also made me go and queue up to get her lunch. Someone like me struggled to carry my own lunch without tripping, let alone two. But the weird thing was, I didn't fall over. Actually, ever since I started hanging out with Ariel, I couldn't recall anything bad happening. With my newfound luck, I started opening up to some of my other classmates. And you won't believe it. An unlucky girl like me even won 2 tickets to the opening of a new water park. So I decided to share one with Ariel. To be fair, it was her luck that got me those tickets, right? But, uh-oh. Hang on. Was that Ariel tottering out of the changing rooms in her stiletto heels? What an idiot! And right after that, just as you might have guessed, she slipped over. But to my horror, She also frantically grabbed onto my arm to take me down with her. But wait, why didn't I feel any pain? Oh, was I dreaming? Did this handsome guy just save me? As for Princess Ariel, she broke a tiny fingernail, so she just stormed off sulking. Never mind, as I had a new companion, my super cute hero, Anthony. Since then, Anthony and I talked to each other every day, and just like that, we officially became a couple. Honestly, who would have imagined that Lola the Jinx would one day have a very wonderful boyfriend like Anthony? Maybe my luck had finally changed. Yay! So the prophecy was fulfilled. Ariel was the one who brought me luck. But actually, thinking about it, Ariel didn't seem to be having any bad luck at all in the meantime. Well, apart from the fingernail incident, but in that instance, she was lucky she didn't sprain her ankle or anything. Perhaps we were all riding on the good luck train, for once. But there's still one thing I can't understand. Honey, why were you so late today?
Sorry, babe. On the way here, I got a flat tire. Twice.
Yeah, you see, my boyfriend sure had been having a lot of bad luck lately. But wait, Anthony also has a name that began with the letter A. Could it be that it was Anthony who bore my bad luck? Not Ariel? Oh no, this couldn't be happening! Then, over the next few weeks, my suspicions were confirmed. Anthony lost his phone. He misplaced his assignment, picked up the wrong dog from the vets, and even managed to walk into his mom's brand new, expensive vase. Smash! I could continue to be a jinx, but I didn't want any of my loved ones to endure this fatigue for me. Instead, I needed to find a way to help Anthony get out of this for good. Maybe he could befriend someone super lucky. Then this would reverse his bad luck. With this plan in mind, I planned a picnic for us both, then invited the luckiest person I knew along too, Ariel. At first, it seemed to be going really well. It wasn't raining, and there weren't ants in our sandwiches. But then I noticed Ariel giggle and twizzle with her hair as she looked at Anthony. Oh no, Ariel had a crush on my boyfriend. The problem was, the more I saw them together, happy and bad luck free, the more I concluded that Anthony was better off without me. So I started ignoring his calls and messages and purposely avoided the places I knew he would be. All was going well, until he showed up outside my school. Ugh!
Lola, why are you ignoring me? What did I do wrong?
I pretended not to hear anything and kept walking, but he ran after and caught me by my wrist. So I yelled at him, "Nothing! You're perfect! That's why I stopped talking to you. I'm a jinx, and you deserve better." He gave me a confused look, so I explained all about how bad luck had a way of following me and the people I was closest to, and that's why I had set up a date for him and Ariel.
You're such a fool. Are you seriously ready to throw away what we have because of some stupid prophecy? Plus, I'm not an object for you to just give away to whoever you want.
Then he stormed off. This was awful. Now I'd gone and lost my amazing, sweet, caring boyfriend, and I only had myself to blame. Later that night, Mom walked into the living room and saw me slumped on the couch crying. She asked me what was wrong, and I blubbered out all about my bad luck, the fortune teller, and how I lost my boyfriend because of it.
I think it's time I visited this fortune teller. It might be the prophetess from the day you were born. I didn't see her back then as I was in the hospital with you. If it really is her, I'm longing to know why she decided to put so much stress on our family with her ludicrous words.
The next day, Mom and I went to the fortune teller's place. Mommy yanked the veil off her face and stared at her in shock. Turns out they went to school together. And back then, this woman was jealous of my mom's luck. A jealousy she never got past. So she tried to sabotage her by telling those ridiculous prophecies to not only me, but the rest of our family. Thinking about it, throughout my childhood, my relatives treated me like a bad luck charm. So that's how I acted. I alienated myself, acted insecure, and had no confidence. Maybe it was my negative energy that was making me unlucky. not some dumb prophecy. So, what happened next? Well, Mum made sure the whole town found out about what a fraud the fortune teller is. She wrote a public apology to us and paid us compensation. As for me, I decided it was time to make my own luck. So, I went round to Anthony's and handed him 2 tickets for the water park. And I apologized for all my superstitious nonsense. He seemed to appreciate the gesture, and he forgave me. So we're back together. Yay! From now on, it's only positive vibes, happy thoughts, and grasping life's opportunities. The most important thing I've learned is that if you see life as beautiful, it'll always be beautiful to you in return.
I was casually walking along the hallway, just minding my own business, when I felt a cold breeze rush through the hallway. I turned my head to see, and oh, it was Natasha. Ooh. I didn't mean to look her in the eye, but I did. Oh no, was she going to hit me? Panicked, I quickly glared down at my feet. My heart was thudding with fear, and inside my head, I repeated, "Please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me." But to my relief, she walked past me. Phew! Hi, I'm Marcus, and you might be wondering why I'm so afraid of that girl, right? Well, there's a reason why her nickname is Silent but Deadly. She's the tallest girl in the school, intimidating, and she never utters a word. The school was full of rumors about her, such as how the last kid who messed with her ended up in intensive care. Nobody, and I mean nobody, should ever look her in the eye, not unless they want to end up unconscious. I definitely just had a lucky escape. Thankfully, not all the girls in my school were as terrifying as Natasha. Nope. Instead, there was this really cute girl named Naomi. She's beautiful, sweet, and gentle. Only, she's also super popular and is dating Nicholas, the captain of the basketball team. So I just kept my feelings to myself and carried on with my life. But wait, where's my notebook? I guess I left it back in the science lab. So I rushed in there and, oh no. Nicholas was there and he was reading my notebook. I quickly grabbed it off of him, but it was too late. He'd already taken pictures of the song lyrics I wrote about my feelings for Naomi. Blast it! So let me get this straight. A nerd like you dares to daydream about Naomi? But we have a problem here. She's my girlfriend. Don't you know that? Wait, it's not like that. I'll stay away from her, I promise. Nicholas gave me this unnerving look. Ugh. No good thing could ever come from a look like that. I braced myself for what he was about to do next. You have to do everything I say, else I'm gonna ruin your life. Huh? Was he being serious? Judging by his devious smirk, yup, he was 100% being serious. I want you to ask Natasha out. Make sure you do it in front of the whole class. What? Natasha? That scary girl? How could I? If you say no, the entire school will know about this. Then he waved his phone in front of me. Ugh, that vile Nicholas. But I couldn't risk my song being sent to everyone, so it looked like I had no choice. So the following day, I walked over to Natasha's desk and asked her, Natasha, will you be my girlfriend? The whole class was silent. Then they burst out laughing. She glared at me. Ugh, this wasn't good. I winced, preparing for the death punch. But instead, she led me out into a corner of the hallway. Then she gave me this weak smile, followed by a nod. Oh my God, did she just agree to be my girlfriend? This is crazy. It was completely beyond my expectations. But, whew, at least I was still alive, right? And that's how I ended up dating the scariest girl in school. She never spoke to me, not even a word. So I just helped her with her studies and carried her stuff around. We also exchanged numbers, but we only chatted through messages. Then one day when I was on my way to have lunch with Natasha, Nicholas strolled over to me and told me I had to take her to the cinema to catch this awful-looking rom-com, which didn't seem like her thing at all. But what other choice did I have? Nicholas' words were orders. So I asked her over lunch, and to my surprise, Natasha smiled, then gave me a big thumbs up as agreement. When I went to pick up Natasha, she was already waiting for me on her porch. She walked over with a notepad. Curious, I asked her why she had it, and she wrote, I won't be able to text you during the movie, so this will have to do. Yep, Natasha has always been different from everyone else, so I didn't ask anymore. During the film, I noticed Natasha was crying, so when it was over and we stopped for lunch, I teased her. I saw you crying during the movie. She slammed her notepad on the table after she wrote, I was not crying. I just laughed and took her home. Maybe she wasn't as scary as the rumors made her out to be. To be honest, she was also quite cute. The more time I spent with Natasha, the more I started to warm to her. There was something I liked about her, even though we had only communicated through sticky notes. I was desperate to hear her voice, so I hatched a plan. When we were in the library on a study date, I picked up an old book and blew the dust in her face. She almost sneezed. But before she did, she placed her hand over her mouth and raced into the girls' bathroom. Then she returned wearing a mask. After that, I tried to make her laugh. I quickly took 2 pencils from the table and stuffed them into my nose, and started making ugly faces. But Natasha just glared at me and handed me a note. If you continue to do these ridiculous things, there will be payback. No way was I giving up. So the next day, when I saw her by her locker, I rushed over to her and began imitating the voices of the minions. I thought it would definitely work this time, but no, instead she punched me in the arm. Ouch! Yep, I now learned that the rumor about her inhuman strength was not an exaggeration. So I just gave up and our relationship continued. Then one weekend, when I was at Natasha's house to study, I went down to the kitchen to get a drink, just as her mom returned from the grocery store. As I helped her unpack, we started talking. She told me about Natasha's love of collecting glass art, the pieces of which filled the house. Then her mom touched my shoulder and thanked me for making her daughter happy again. Oh man, this was awkward. Now I felt super bad. To divert the convo, I asked if Natasha talked at home, but she just smiled and replied, "Natasha's such a quiet kid, right?" Then she told me how it's because Natasha's always been taller than the other kids, but she has a squeaky voice. This led to lots of teasing, and once she got so upset, she pushed a boy over and accidentally caused him to have a nosebleed. Since then, people started to shun her, so she withdrew from herself and stayed silent. Hearing this made me feel so guilty. What I was doing was wrong, and Natasha didn't deserve this. Then her mom said something that truly shocked me. In middle school, this one girl named Naomi was horrible to all. The mean comments got so bad she refused to go into school for weeks at a time. Huh? Naomi? The same Naomi I know? No way! Confused, I told Natasha's mom I needed to leave and left her looking bewildered as I ran out of there. My mind was a mess. I had a crush on a mean girl. And I'm just as bad, if not worse, after what I did to Natasha. Then my phone rang with a text from Natasha. It said, "Sorry if my mom said something she shouldn't have. You okay?" I texted back, "We need to talk tomorrow, please." So we decided to meet at her house the next day. Alone in her living room, I told her everything, including my notebook, liking Naomi and how Nicholas was blackmailing me. "Natasha, please, you have to believe me. I'm sorry I did this to you." I saw the hurt look in her eyes. Then she threw a note at me and ran to her room. The note told me to get out, but before I did, I stood on the other side of her door. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I couldn't continue our relationship on a lie. Look, I like you, and I don't want to deceive you anymore." After that, I left, and I also texted Nicholas that I didn't care if he told everyone. I'm done being his puppet. The next day, I expected school to be intolerable, but to my surprise, nothing happened. Instead, I saw that Natasha was trying to sort out her locker. A crowd had gathered around her, and Naomi was taunting her. "How does it feel to know that even your boyfriend likes me more? He doesn't like you." Natasha carried on sorting out her books, but I could see that she was fighting back tears. Furious, I pushed past them all and told Naomi to stop. She just jokingly said, "You know, if you wanted to date me, you could have just asked. You didn't have to spend so many months suffering with this giant scarecrow. You're right, I did like you back when I thought you were a nice person. But now I know the true you. You're a coward who only feels good when it's at the expense of someone's misery. And I can see why you target Natasha the most, because she has 2 things you'll never have, a true kind heart and a loving spirit." After that, I pulled Natasha away and told her how sorry I am. But she didn't even glance at me and just walked off. A few days later, after PE class, I was about to go to the locker room when a classmate, Dante, came up to me. "Marcus, help me carry the PE equipment into the storage room, please. I have a stomachache." He hugged his stomach, then hurriedly ran away. Without thinking much, I packed up the equipment and carried it into the storage room. As soon as I put it down, I realized that Nicholas, Naomi, and some guys from the basketball team were waiting there for me. "Oh, well, Marcus, do you really like that weird Natasha? Didn't see that coming." Then the whole group burst into laughter. "You have no right to say that to her. Take a look at yourself. Whoa, are you defending her? Then she turned to Nicholas. Babe, show him who's the boss here. Then she pulled out her phone and started recording. Nicholas smirked, then grabbed my shirt collar with one hand and reached out his fist to me with the other. I tried to struggle but couldn't get out. He was too strong. Knowing I was doomed, I closed my eyes and awaited his punch, but suddenly a loud shout came out. Stop! I opened my eyes to see Natasha and a teacher standing in front of the door. Turns out she overheard Dante bragging to some kid about Nicholas's plan. So she came to my rescue. I looked at her gratefully, but she turned away to avoid my gaze. Meanwhile, Nicholas hastily released my collar and lied to the teacher that we were just chatting. But of course, he didn't believe him and summoned them all to the supervisor's room. After that incident, Nicholas, Naomi, and the rest of the basketball team were suspended from school for 2 weeks. They deserved it. But who cares? I have more important things on my mind, such as winning back Natasha. I knew that her birthday was coming up, and I remembered how she loved glass art. So I bought her a glass art figure of Cinderella's glass slippers with a ticket to senior prom and a card saying, "Thank you and happy birthday. I know what you did doesn't mean you forgive me, but I want to be your real boyfriend. So I left you a ticket for senior prom. If you come and dance with me, then I know you'll give me another chance. If not, then I know that it's over. But remember, you are a special person and deserve the best." The night of prom came and I was stuck there all alone, feeling like a fool. This sucked, but after what I did, it was what I deserved. I didn't want to stick around here without her. So I was about to leave, but then my classmate tapped my shoulder and gestured for me to turn around. OMG. It was Natasha in the most beautiful crimson red dress. She walked over to me and then reached out her hand to ask me to dance. And of course, I accepted. As the song came to an end, she leaned in and whispered to me, "Thank you, my hero." I can safely say that was the happiest night of my life, as it led to me having the best girlfriend ever. Oh, also her voice is actually really cute, although she does get annoyed with me when I tell her that.
No! Now take your stinking money and get off my ship!
It really wasn't our day.
He was the 5th guy to reject us already. No one seemed to want to go to that island.
Oh, hi there. Julia here.
It's been 2 years since my dad strangely vanished into thin air while on a business trip. He just disappeared. But even when the authorities confirmed he'd passed away, I couldn't shake off the feeling that he was still alive somewhere out there. So I've still been looking for him ever since. In fact, just a few days ago, I found a clue. You see, I'm studying at the Archaeological Institute, where I happened to find an ancient map of some treasure hidden on a deserted island. Sounds wild, right? Well, it gets crazier. Right at the exact spot where the treasure was marked on the map was a symbol of a swallow, my dad's signature swallow, and his initials RC were written there too. Could it be? There was no time to waste. So that's how I ended up here in a fishing village close to that island with my best friend Lily. She's tagged along because she was so worried about me going alone, which was sweet of her. You see, there was a rumor among the locals that the island was cursed. Apparently, anyone who dared to venture there disappeared without a trace. That's why it's named the Lost Isle. But there was one ship that had returned from there intact, Captain Black Bill's. On returning, he told the locals that surrounding the Lost Isle were reefs with super fast currents. So most ships ended up shipwrecked. The souls of those who died there were trapped years after years and became wicked spirits guarding the island from strangers. But fortunately for Black Bill, he happened to have a charm of the goddess Amphitrite to protect him from all the storms at sea. And it actually worked. Anyway, Lily and I decided he was the man for the job, so we went to the local pub to find him.
"Give me another rum and coke, will ya?"
he said between hiccups. The man was already drunk. I then asked him if he could take us to the island, but the barman chimed in.
"Oh, come on. Only fools dare to go near the Lost Isle."
"But isn't it safe to go with Black Bill? I heard he's protected by a goddess or something."
"That's right."
Black Bill suddenly raised his voice.
"But the charm only works when you're out at sea. Stepping onto that island is another matter. Besides, the spirits guarding that island are terrifying. I'm not insane enough to go back there. So the answer is no." I wasn't about to give up, though. How much do you want?
50,000 and I'll take yas.
He laughed. His words left us dumbfounded.
Let's just go home. This was a waste of time. He's obviously trying to steal our money.
50 grand? Where on earth could we find that amount of money? But I'm so close to my dad now. I can feel it. I can't give up halfway. Suddenly, I had an idea. Actually, we wanted to go to the island to find an ancient treasure that's worth way more than $50,000. If you take us, we'll split the treasure. What do you say?
Ha! How do I know you're not bluffing?
He said. So I showed him the map. It took him a few minutes, but eventually he shook my hand and the deal was set. Then he said we needed to set off as soon as possible. Otherwise, other people would try and beat us to the treasure. So, early the next day, we boarded his ship, the Siren. And I'm not gonna lie, we were both pretty scared. The other sailors were quite rough, and only one of them stood out as he smiled brightly at us. He then came over and offered to help carry our luggage. He was just so sweet compared to the others.
What's so funny? I'm Skylar, by the way.
Oh, nothing. It's just, you don't really seem like you belong here.
Well, I don't have much choice. My dad's the captain.
They're related? But he seemed nothing like Black Bill. He could clearly see I was surprised as he said,
Everyone reacts like that. It's true. I don't look much like him, do I?
Ahem.
I turned around, realizing Lily was just standing there waiting for us. She had a smirk on her face and wouldn't quit teasing me as Skylar led us to our room.
Since when did you change your type to sailor boys?
I just shook my head, laughing. I mean, he was cute, but that wasn't the point of the trip. We settled in, but that night I couldn't sleep at all. I decided to go up on deck for some stargazing. It was eerily quiet out there, but I suddenly heard a sound coming from the other side of the ship. I quickly went to see and found Skylar leaning on the rail. He's probably having trouble falling asleep too. So we ended up chatting all night, and I told him why I had to get to the Lost Isle. He looked me in the eyes and said,
I'm sure you'll find your dad. I know you can do it.
He seemed so sincere and warm. It actually made my heart skip a beat. By noon the next day, we had reached the island, and it was just as terrifying as Black Bill had said it would be. Rows and rows of jagged rocks rising out of the sea, with the waves crashing so high, I thought we'd be shipwrecked in a second. The ship was shaking so violently, I really didn't think we'd make it. But we did. After almost colliding with the rocks a few times, we eventually made it through, and I've never been happier to see land before. However, there were still many challenges ahead. The first night on the island, I was curled up in my tent when a sound of footsteps coming from outside woke me up. I quickly unzipped it to see who was there, and that's when I saw a dark figure rushing off into the bushes. I was so scared, I screamed and woke everyone up. After checking, we realized all our bags and food that we'd left outside had been stolen.
Perhaps the ghosts of this cursed island are trying to scare us away.
I felt Lily shiver beside me, while I tried my best to look unfazed. But Skylar suddenly spoke up.
What would ghosts do with food anyway? It was obviously some man. Monkeys? Yes, it was obviously monkeys. Right, son? In fact, they'll probably come back. So we best keep our eyes peeled.
For the rest of the night, we took turns guarding the tents. Then once the sun came up, we packed up our camp and continued on our journey across the jungle.
Julia, are there really ghosts on this island?
Ghosts aren't real, Lily. I started, but then I found myself screaming. My right leg dropped and suddenly I was falling into a hole. Luckily, Skylar was nearby and grabbed my arm just in time. I quickly looked down and saw there were dozens of sharpened wooden stakes at the bottom of the hole. What in the world? That wasn't the only trap, though. As we crossed the island, we all got stuck in a snare at some point. From net to rope leg traps, this cursed island has all the tricks up its sleeve.
Luckily, no one got seriously injured, but it was still totally freaky. That night, I headed towards Skylar's tent to thank him for saving me, and as soon as he saw me, he pulled me into a hidden corner and said,
"There's something I need to tell you. I'm not Black Bill's real son. Skylar!"
Black Bill suddenly shouted from a distance.
"Come here! Right now!" "I'll talk to you later. Hide that compass, and don't tell anyone."
Before I could even begin to understand what was going on, he'd left. Another shock hit me as I saw the swallow symbol alongside my dad's initials engraved onto the lid. Huh? How did he get this? Did Skylar know my dad? A billion questions flooded my mind, but by then, Skylar had already gone guarding the campsite with his dad. The next morning, after basically no sleep, I decided I had to find Skylar and get some answers. As I was looking around for him, a group of strangers landed from the trees. They were like some sort of jungle people, with bushy hair and beards and wore raggedy clothing. They surrounded our camp and started threatening us. I was so scared, I couldn't move a muscle.
"Julia! Lily! Run!"
Skylar screamed, and I managed to snap out of it. I grabbed my bag in Lily's hand and ran after him and Black Bill. We eventually found a cave and took shelter there. It was hidden deep in the trees, and we prayed they wouldn't find us. We then only came out when we were sure they were gone. I asked if we should go find the rest of the crew, but Black Bill ignored my question and only had his mind on the treasure. Ugh! He was willing to leave his crew behind. What a cold-blooded man! And yet, I had no other choice but to continue the search. I couldn't risk being caught by those barbarians. I needed to find my dad. So I reluctantly pulled the map out and we followed the directions. It led us to a stone temple in the middle of the island. One by one, we entered and went deep inside. Suddenly, Black Bill screamed. An arrow flew past him, just missing his cheek. Terrified, he turned pale, clutching his chest.
"Your treasure better be worth all of this, or else."
We continued on and saw a door. That's it! The treasure is behind this! Black Bill ran forward, throwing himself against the door. His patience was definitely wearing thin. While he worked on getting the door open, I looked around for more clues about my dad. Suddenly, I turned around to see Black Bill falling on his knees. He'd managed to open the door, but inside was just a room full of dusty, chipped, cobweb-covered vases.
"You tricked me! I risked my life to come to this hole of an island for nothing!"
Black Bill then swooped over to grab me. I struggled to get away from him. He was squeezing my neck so tight, I couldn't breathe. I looked to Skylar pleading for help, and he tried to calm Black Bill down.
"Oh, shut up! And you! Bring all your stuff over here, or this friend of yours will be in big trouble."
Trembling, Lily did as he said, begging him to spare me, but he only gave her a threatening look while tightening his arms around my neck. He signaled for Skylar to come get his things.
"No! Let her go!" "Oh, little Sky, did you forget about your mummy and daddy? You don't want them to get hurt, do you? I've done enough for you."
What were the two of them talking about? What was going on? My head was spinning, and with the suffocation, I gradually lost consciousness and passed out. When I woke up, I found myself on the Siren, surrounded by Lily, Skylar, and... Dad? Am I dreaming? Is it really you? My eyes blurred with tears. I rushed over and hugged my dad. Then I found out what had happened. As soon as I fainted, the horde of barbarians rushed in, captured Black Bill, and freed us all. Turned out, these people were all sailors, archaeologists, and explorers who had come to the island to look for treasure. When going through the reef, they were attacked by a group of pirates who robbed them of all their possessions and belongings Then they were mercilessly dumped empty-handed on the island. That crew of pirates was none other than Black Bill's crew. All those legend tales about the island, including the amphitrite charm, were made up by Black Bill himself, thinking he could cover up his crimes by preventing people from approaching the island. Wow, that man was a real monster. I knew something was fishy about him. But luckily, taking the chance of the pirates setting sail to the island, the group of victims conspired to capture them and free themselves from the deserted island. As for Skylar, poor Skylar, he had been through so much. He was actually one of the victims. 2 years ago, he and his parents were also dumped on the island. Worrying that their young boy wouldn't survive, his parents begged Black Bill to let him be a part of the crew. Seeing that Skylar was strong and healthy, Black Bill agreed, on one condition that if he ever betrayed him, his parents would be executed. Thanks to Skylar, the victims were able to survive to this day. Every time the boat came near the island, he would sneak food and necessities into a barrel and let it float to shore. Smart move. Oh, and that's not all. When Skylar was on the island, he had met my dad, and they even had a talk before Skylar was about to get on board to join the crew.
Please, promise me, if you manage to escape, try to find my daughter, and give her this as a sign that I'm still alive and well live. I promise.
I couldn't believe it. It was all thanks to Skylar that I'd found my dad. He smiled at both me and my dad and said,
"See? I never break a promise."
Anyway, when the ship docked, the pirates were immediately arrested. As for the victims, they were finally reunited with their families. Now, a year has passed, and honestly, all this was still so surreal to me. My dad and I spent a large chunk of the past year setting up an organization to help the people who'd been stranded on the island reintegrate into society. Lily has actually been writing a book about our adventure. And as for me and Skylar, well, we're officially dating. Guess it wasn't such a cursed island after all, right?